see more what I'm talking about as we work through it tonight. We know, or y'all should know by now, that Wednesday nights to me is it's more about learning. We're going to take our time. We're going to work through it and see what the Lord has for us. And there's a lot of different directions we could go tonight, and we'll see what the Lord would have us to do with this passage tonight. We're still focused on Wednesday nights on unity and growth, both spiritually and physically with our church. And this passage here fits right into that. We're going to be in Micah chapter 6, verse number 6. It says, "Wherewith shall I come before the Lord, and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul?" Verse number 8, where we want to focus on tonight. "He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee?" What doth the Lord require of thee? 3 things. "But to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God." The Lord requires 3 things. He is talking to the children of Israel right here in a time where they had abandoned their following of God. They had abandoned their beliefs, the core of their beliefs, and they were doing a lot of things just to do it. Doing a lot of things just to do it. They were checking boxes. They were having a form of godliness. They were missing that relationship part. If we want to see unity in our church, and we want to see growth both spiritually and physically, we have to do what that verse says in verse number 8. It says, "But what doth the Lord require of thee? But to do justly, love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God." So tonight we're going to see, we're going to do a little exploration here in this Old Testament passage to see what we can get out of it. And I think we can get a lot. This passage poses a question. It poses actually several questions, but it's a powerful question that says, "Oh man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee?" We're going to focus on that and see if we can find some answers. And I know that we can if we'll focus a little bit on this scripture and be open-minded. Even though this was before Christ was born, this is the Old Testament, it still applies today. This Bible is the living Word of God. This Bible applies today, it applies tomorrow, it applies every day. As long as we're willing to get something out of it, God will give us something. And as we seek unity and growth in our church and in our community, in our ministry, I think we can find some things in here that will help us reach our goals. If you really want to know what's going on here, we're going to give a little background. What's going on in Israel? Well, Israel is still a well, you can look at Israel in 2 parts: the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom was in decline, and eventually it falls to the Assyrians. The southern kingdom was experiencing periods of fruitfulness and faithfulness, and then unfruitful and unfaithfulness. As the kings, if you'll look at the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, Chronicles, and you work your way through there, it'll tell you this person ruled, and he did that which was right in his own eyes. This person ruled, and he did what the Lord had them to do, and it goes back and forth with when they would have a ruler that followed the will of God and a ruler that didn't follow the will of God. And this time that Micah endured was very difficult. It was a period of social and economic inequality. There was, you're talking about great diversity in the people. The rich got richer and the poor got poorer. It was a time of idolatry. It was a time of fraud and oppression by the people that were powerful. These people that Jesus would eventually call a generation of vipers. These people, that's who he was talking to. He was talking to the religious folks when he called them a generation of vipers. He said that they're like their father, the devil. That's these people we're talking about. There was religious leaders that were bad. They valued and prioritized these empty rituals rather than true obedience. See, it says, if you go back and look at verse number 6, it says, wherewith shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000 rivers of oil? Give my firstborn for my transgressions, the fruit of my body, for the sin of my soul. These questions are being asked about these things that the Lord, it says that we're supposed to do. They were supposed to make sacrifices. They were supposed to do these things unto the Lord. They ain't doing it unto the Lord. They're doing it to check a box. They're doing empty, hollow, sacrificial motions and actions, and they were doing sacrifices. They were giving the best that they had, and it lists all these things. It says thousands of rams, 10,000 rivers of oil. Talk about calves that are a year old. A calf that's a year old is worth a lot of money. So I'm giving up a lot of things. But are they really doing what the Lord would have them to do? Are they just checking boxes? Are they trying to look good? We're trying to do the most so we can look good. See, 722 BC, the northern kingdom of Israel falls to the Assyrian Empire. That was something that happened during Micah's prophetic ministry. Israel falls. Now that's a hard thing if you want to think about it. These people, these are God's chosen people. You got to think that God's just not going to let them be overthrown. But if you'll look at the children of Israel's time in the Old Testament, they get overthrown over and over and over and over. And what's it from? It's from their disobedience. On the southern side in Judah, they were under pressure from the Assyrians. They were being attacked. There was a great contrast between the elite and the poor. Not really much of a middle class at the time. The rich folks were getting richer. The poor were becoming poor. There was, and because of this, the rich were taking advantage of the poor. They were doing things like, taking their land from them, doing like corrupt business deals, and they were exploiting people. And what they were doing is there's a reason that verse 8 says to do justly. They were not doing justly. They were really hurting folks. They were taking that opportunity to make a lot of money or to take something from somebody, and they were taking it and running with it. They were really losing their sight of what God would have them to do. Idolatry. Without spending too much time here, I think that we deal with idolatry. In their day, they worshiped false gods. They went to specific false gods. They would set up these altars to these false gods, which were, we ain't got time to dig into all that, but fallen angels that were had these authorities, and they were doing things. And when you really dig into the false gods that it talks about in the Old Testament, there's a reason that people worshipped them. They were getting something out of it, and they were falling into the evil side of things. We have idolatry today. How many people are doing something besides going to church on Sunday? It's just honest, right? Do we idolize ball, or like in our life, what we experience on and off rodeo stuff? Do we idolize going to the river? Do we idolize, what is it that we are putting in front of God? This is a time that the children of Israel were setting up altars and worshiping false gods, but that's no different than what we do when we put something in front of God. It's no different. We can never see our ministry grow spiritually and physically if we're putting something before God. Ain't gonna happen. It just ain't. Our church has to prioritize God being in front, up high, lifted up, and us being irrelevant as far as honor and glory goes, and we give it all to Him, and we're going to be all right. But if we start worrying about everything else that's going on, and we start putting things before God, He's not going to bless us. He's just not. And that was the political and social side of things, but what about religious side of things? We talked about the idolatry. But even the ones that were still falling into the religious acts, people believed that performing these religious rituals and making sacrifices was earning God's favor. They were still doing what they were supposed to do, but they were filling their lives with all these other things. They were not living for Jesus. They were sacrificing that like they were supposed to. They were following up. They were doing what they're supposed to do. They're like, look, I'm going to church and I'm paying my tithes. But when they wasn't at church, they were living a life they wanted to live. They putting other things before God. They were saying, look at what I'm doing. I'm giving God His part. I'm giving my time to Him on Sunday morning. But outside of that, I'm doing what I want to do. They were not taking care of folks. It says that they were just doing unjust things. They were taking advantage of people. Do you really love Jesus if you're taking advantage of people? You don't. And if you want to say that I love Jesus, but I'm okay with taking advantage of somebody, you really don't love Jesus. And that's another sermon for another day. But that's what these people were doing. These prophets, like Micah here, he was very critical of these people that were putting on a show. Hypocrite. A hypocrite is somebody that's putting on an act. They're putting on a show. They're acting for people. And that's what he called it. He called it hypocritical. And I saw when I was doing some research on this a term that I like. Micah chapter 6 verses 1 through 8 is framed as a covenant lawsuit. God versus man, like they're in court. It's a lawsuit where God argues that the people have broken their side of the covenant. He made a covenant with the children of Israel. He said He's going to bless them, He's going to take care of them, and they're His chosen people. But what are they supposed to do? Follow Him. They broke their side. They broke their side of the covenant. Now and what they're saying is, if you go back and look at verse 6 and 7 where we read, they said, we're sacrificing this and we're doing this and this and this, but it don't mean nothing. God's saying it don't mean nothing to me. It's empty. And this passage responds to the question of what does God require? God wants justice and mercy and humility. That's what He wants out of us. Let's look at the verses a little bit deeper, and we'll get going here. In verse 6 and 7, we see some questions that reveal misunderstanding about what pleases God. Does God want you to be sacrificial with your life for Him? Yes, He does. Does He want you to come to church? Yes, He does. The Bible says that our bodies, we are a living sacrifice. Our bodies, we are supposed to be a living sacrifice for Jesus. That's what we're supposed to do. Does God want you to be a living sacrifice? Yes, He does. Why are you doing it? Is it so that people see you doing it? Is it empty, hollow sacrifice? The Israelites, much like people today, they were worried about the outside, the look at me, look what I'm doing. I paid for that. I'm doing this. I paid my tithes. Everybody watched me put my check in the plate. That kind of thing. Okay? They were not very focused on the internal. They asked, if you go back and look, verse 6 and 7, burnt offerings, thousands of rams, rivers of oil. Can that earn God's favor? Even, what about that extreme? I've never noticed. I don't know why I've never noticed it, but God really pointed it out to me. Verse number 7 says, shall I give my firstborn for my transgression? They even offered up their firstborn child. That's what the idolatry side of things, worshiping false gods, would require. They're saying, I'd even give up my firstborn. Is that going to get God's favor? Will it appease God? That's what the kind of questions they're asking. What is it? I think that these verses show how futile it is for us to rely on rituals and actions to achieve some kind of spiritual fulfillment or to get God's favor. God doesn't give us favor because of what we're doing for Him. He gives us favor because He loves us. And if we will then in turn try to live for Him, that's where the favor comes from. It ain't, look what I've done for you, God. It's thank you, God, for what you've done for me. God's not looking for gestures. He's not looking for displays. He's not looking for all this outside stuff. He wants something on the inside. He don't want the hollow stuff. Verse 8. That's what He wants. Verse 8. It's not about how big our offering is. It's about where your heart is. If you give everything you got and you love Jesus and you pour your everyday out for Jesus, that's what He wants. He ain't looking for how much you want to give. It's what are you giving He wants you. He wants this. He wants the inside. What does it say first? 3 fundamental principles we find here. To do justly. To do justly. Justice is a cornerstone of God's kingdom. He is a just God. It says that many times in the Bible. Just. Doing justly means living with integrity. It means being fair. It means being righteous. It means taking care of folks. Look, justice can be looked at in a lot of different ways, but when it's talking about right here, what this is talking about right here is for us to do the right thing, whether it benefits us or not, to do the right thing. It requires us to stand up against injustice. We're supposed to advocate for those. We're supposed to support one another. We're supposed to take care of one another. We're supposed to see that somebody, if somebody needs to be supported, and we're going to go support them. We're going to be just. That's what the Bible wants us to do. When somebody in our church has done something wrong, is it our job to throw more rocks at them, or is it our job to pray for them and try to pick them up? We got a job to do. What God is the one that is over the justice system. We're supposed to support folks. I'm not making decisions about what needs to happen to somebody. You hear somebody, I heard it today at school. Well, they got what they deserve. Well, you better hope God don't give you what you deserve.
Amen.
According to what my Bible says, wages of sin is death. You deserve to die. Just like I deserve to die, and everybody in here deserves to die. You better watch what you say. It's not they got what they deserve. It's our job to do people the right way and to support them. If we want to see our church grow, then we've got to have justice. We've got to make sure everybody's treated right. We've got to make sure that there's some dignity and respect going on. People's full of mistakes. I am full of mistakes. Follow me around. You don't want to come hear me preach, I promise. Okay? I don't live like I'm supposed to live. I do the best I can. All right? So, if we want to do things the right way and we want to respect folks and treat them with dignity, we gotta have this to do justly in our heart. We got to treat people right. We're not here to drop the axe on folks. That's not what we do. That's not what we do. If we want to have unity in the church, our foundation has got to be one of these three pillars, and the first one is to do justly. That's to take care of folks. That's to do folks. Hey, everybody makes mistakes. We got to do our part to help them get back on their feet spiritually and support them. I'm not saying you tell them it's okay that you messed up. I'm saying you messed up, but we love you. Failure's not final. Go on for the glory of God. Justly. We have got to value every soul. Don't matter what your past is. You've got to value every soul. It's our job to love and to value them and let them know that we're not like the world. We ain't throwing nobody away. I don't throw people away. Some folks I want to throw away, but I can't, because we're supposed to love people like Jesus. And Jesus didn't throw you away when you messed up. We got to have that just heart to do what's right. We got to do folks the right way. Got to move on. What about the next one? What does that say? What doth the Lord require of thee but to do justly and to love mercy? Well, I'll tell you what, love and mercy. I don't like love and mercy. What is mercy? Mercy is when we don't get what we deserve. Mercy. God's mercy. God's grace is when He gives us things that we don't deserve. God's grace says, look, you've messed up, but I'm going to love you anyway, and I'm going to be gracious with you, and I'm going to let you have a fruitful life, even though you messed up. God's mercy is He ain't killing us on the spot when we mess up. God's mercy is Him protecting us from our own mistakes. To love mercy means that not only am I showing mercy, but I love it. It consumes me. This word love is to be consumed with mercy. How many times in our life do we find ourselves mad at somebody and mercy is not on our mind? It's not on the radar. It's just the truth. Mercy is a compassionate response to those in need. Mercy is to be able to love somebody that's done you wrong. That's mercy. I'm not telling you that you got to hug them and that you got to say, it's okay, keep doing me wrong. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we got to love them like Jesus. They're a soul. They deserve the love of Jesus through us. This mercy, it involves showing kindness and forgiveness. It's not what I want to do all the time. But we got to show kindness and forgiveness. We have got to mirror the same mercy that we receive from God. That's what we need to show other people. If God has never been merciful and gracious to you, then that's fine. You don't have to show it to anybody else. If you say that, you're lying. But if that's how you feel, God's never shown you mercy or grace, then hey, that's fine. You don't understand. But I'm speaking from somebody that God's been gracious and merciful to. I'm just telling you. I'm not going to dig into it. because there ain't no sense in it in glorifying evil acts or sin or things like that. But God has been gracious and merciful to me. I would not be standing here right now if it wasn't for God's grace and mercy. I wouldn't have the family that I have without God's grace and mercy. We have a responsibility, and that is to mirror the mercy that God's shown us on other people. If you want to see this church be unified, and you want to see us to grow, and you want to see us to grow not only spiritually, but in our numbers, then we got to start with having some loving mercy. That's what we got to start with. We got to be able to extend that grace. We got to have an environment here where we look for forgiveness. We ain't looking to drop an axe on somebody. That's just what the Bible says. Mercy is what allows wounds to heal. Mercy creates a culture of love. Mercy is how we can allow somebody that's done us wrong to be with us, and we can sincerely want the best for them. Look, I'm telling you, and I'm thinking about, I use my brother as an example, and I don't want to, talk too much about that, but my brother is my struggle about mercy. We've had a lot of ups and downs over the years, and more downs than ups, and the downs are really low, and there's a lot of times if I could have got my hands on him, I'd have killed him, and just being honest with you, and God uses my brother to make sure that I have a loving and merciful heart. I just believe that. So when I see him, even though he's done me wrong all these times, and I can look at all my past with him, and I can't say that he's done me right, but I still, when I see him, my heart breaks, because I want him to get his heart right. I want him to live for Jesus. That's loving mercy. That's what that is. We got to have loving mercy. And the last one, to walk humbly with God. Humbly with God. Humility. Humility is when you realize who God is and who you are. We are unrighteous. We are as filthy rags. He is perfect and pure and holy. We are not that. Humility is when you understand that you are nothing without Him. That's humility. I'm not saying that we should look at ourselves as, oh, poor pitiful me, I'm not worth anything. Oh, no. I'm saying that you need to understand that without Jesus, we're nothing. Without Jesus, we're nothing. Humility, that's the key to our relationship with God. Walking humbly means that we need to see that we are dependent upon God. Do you know why? This is a very simple but profound statement. A preacher friend of mine told me this a while back, and it never really stuck till he told me this way. He said, you know why these folks act the way they act? They act the way they act because they ain't got Jesus. We realize that we act the way we do act because we have Jesus. They don't have Jesus. We should want them to have Jesus, then they'll act the way they're supposed to act. Humility. Humility means that I don't have to have the last word. Humility means that I can pray for somebody and love them through it. Humility means that I'm taking self out of the picture. Humility. God first, church family, then me. And if we do that, we're going to be fine. A humble church is a church that can grow. Humble church is a church that's unified. If we prioritize worshiping God, putting Him first, and we prioritize serving the church over recognition, then we can grow. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I'm going to close with a few things here. When we look at these three principles, promoting justice, loving mercy, and embracing humility, when we think about those things, we need to actively seek to be that way. We need to look for opportunities to help folks. We need to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We need to make sure that we're handling situations with mercy. We need to make sure that we are slow to anger. Slow to anger. We are supposed to be looking for an opportunity to show people Jesus. And if we do that, and we have our hearts right, and we're focusing on God and not on ourselves, and we're humble, and we realize that we need Jesus to do anything, then we're going to be okay. The question is, what doth God require? What doth the Lord require of thee? To do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. If we can do that, we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. That's all I've got tonight. I had some more verses. I may send them out, send a picture of it out in the our group message for y'all to do some reading on. I had no idea that these specific three things about doing justly and loving mercy and walking humbly with God, that those three were put together in about 10 different places in the Bible. It's pretty amazing. So I may send that out and for y'all to have some reading. Mention a few things, then we'll go eat. Y'all continue to pray for our church family. Pray for our ministry as we continue to grow. Pray that the Lord would give us, put folks where they're supposed to be and put burdens on hearts. I spend a lot of time talking about, preaching about that everybody's got a purpose, and you need to find your purpose. You need to pray that God will reveal it to you and then support you and then grow your purpose and then be used by God, and we need to have that on our mind. Let's close in a word of prayer.